Hello, East Idaho. It's 8:07 on a Monday, and we have a boatload of moving parts today. Kash Patel says they're leaving. They're leaving the J. Edgar Hoover building, and he wants to restore transparency to the FBI. We will talk about that. An joint interview, actually. Dan Bongino sat down with, and Kash Patel sat down with Maria Bartiromo. We got some audio from that. We also have some breaking news this morning. President Trump is perhaps even now. It was scheduled to start at 8 o'clock just a few minutes ago. Meeting over the phone with Vladimir Putin. And then he's going to call Zelensky an hour later. Now, color me cynical here, or at least skeptical. I don't know that the White House makes the announcement that the conversation with Putin is going to happen unless they know the outcome of the conversation with Putin. And there may be some deal, and certainly if Donald Trump brings to an end, or at least is the catalyst that brings to an end the conflict and the hostilities between Ukraine and Russia, that is Nobel Peace Prize material, but I would predict he does not get that because he's Donald Trump. And I'm guessing, based on the makeup of the Nobel Committee, most of them are afflicted with Orange Man Bad syndrome, which is the casual name for the more clinical Trump derangement syndrome. So you have that happening. You also have the big, beautiful bill finally getting the support that it needs in the House. And I think the pressure was getting pretty intense on Mike Johnson to deliver and to get something through and over to the Senate, which they're probably going to make some adjustments. This does not have to hit the 60-vote threshold. This is filibuster-proof because it's about the budget. It's about money. It's about and not about policy. So this only has to reach a 50% threshold, but they're going to create their own version of it, and then there's going to be one final version that they'll all vote on. But hopefully it looks like that the big, beautiful bill's passage is within sight, which is going to be a big relief for a lot of people because if the Democrats are successful in stopping it, it's going to mean a tax increase for many Americans. There are also a lot of people who rely on tips and they rely on overtime, and their tips and overtime will not get taxed if the big, beautiful bill passes as well. So you have that. Also, over the weekend, there's a big, beautiful bill, but there was a not so big, ugly protest happening in Pocatello. And I did not go. But I certainly watched some of the media reports from the not so big ugly protest in Pocatello. They got like 200 or 300 people, and that's decent. Okay, I'll give credit where it's due. If you can take a town the size of Pocatello or Idaho Falls, and you can get 200 or 300 people together for a political protest, that's a crowd. So I'll hand it to you, but it's down from the 1,000 or so that they had earlier on in the Trump presidency. And so it's not going in the right direction. So I think the fact that they have maybe a third of what they had before, that's why I say the not so big, ugly protest. But here's the thing that I wanted to talk about today, because I did see some pictures of the protest signs. And normally I'm like, whatever, write what you want on your cardboard sign and carry it around and chant, ho, 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 Trump's got to go, he, whatever it is they chant. They chant stupid stuff all the time. Anyway, but there were a few of the signs that had 8647 on them. Of course, last week we had the story involving former FBI Director James Comey, who just happened to be strolling along on the beach and came across what he called an interesting shell formation. And the shells were arranged in 4 numbers, 8647. What an interesting shell formation. Well, You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know 47 obviously is a reference to Trump. He hates Trump. He has Trump derangement syndrome. And 86 can mean a number of different things, the most dire of which is assassinate someone. Kill him. And so now James Comey is going to have a sit down with the Secret Service. And there's going to be a discussion. There may be hearings. There may be something about this, because when you have someone as high profile as a former FBI director making a reference that can reasonably be interpreted, kill the current president, you've got a problem on your hands. Okay, and you should have a problem. We need people that are more responsible than that. So as I scrolled through some of the pictures of the not so big ugly protest in Pocatello, a handful of those signs had 8647 on them. Now, like I said, I wasn't there, did not have a conversation with these people. I'm not sure they'd even have a conversation with me if they knew who I am. Do you know who I am? I don't mean it like that. But if they knew that I was a strong conservative and a Trump supporter, they may not engage with me. But I would like to ask them, what do you mean by that? Explain, define for me those 4 digits. What do you mean by it? Now, I do believe that when pressed, they would probably say, well, we just mean stop him. We just mean we need to stop his agenda. We need to maybe impeach him. Like if we're going to remove him from office. However, I think if that's what you truly meant by it, that's what you would say. Let's remove Trump from office. Let's impeach the president. And I'm sure some of the stupid signs said that. And they would, but when you take a phrase like that in the context of why they're saying it, and the overarching story is, did Comey mean assassinate the president? Then if you're being vague and not explaining it, and you're toting that around at what was clearly, they were like, oh, no, this is open to anybody of any party. No, you're hardcore leftist Democrats. Just say it. Stop trying to insult our intelligence, okay? But shame on you, because I think you're okay with it being vague, that it might mean that you're okay with assassinating the president of the United States. And if I had been the organizer of that protest, I would go to those people and say, look, we don't want violence. We don't want calls for violence. And we want it to be unambiguous. So you need to go take your sign and put it back in your trunk of your Prius. Okay? Go back and put it in your Subaru. Because we don't want it being interpreted that way. Or do they? So I would put it out there publicly. Are you okay if you were at that protest, if you were participating in the Pocatello 8647 protest, and I'll call it that because you had signs there, which I think are probably the most egregious. What did you mean by it? And if you're the organizer of it, why did you allow that to happen at your organized protest? And you could say, well, it's First Amendment. People had the right to put anything they wanted to on it. Okay, and that's fine. But I don't think that actually holds true without boundaries. So I would say it's time. Yeah, I don't care if you criticize Trump. I don't even care if you have a sign that says, I want to impeach Trump. That's all fair game. Heck, I think there were things that Obama did that would have been at least reviewable as impeachable offenses. I think Biden should have been 25th Amendmented early on in his presidency, which we're going to get to that, by the way. So I get that. I understand that. But when you have what can reasonably be interpreted as a reference to assassinating a president, and you just leave it there, and when pressed, you're going to run to, oh, no, we just meant stop him. That's all we meant. No, I don't buy that. I'm going to call bull crap on that because you're deliberately making it vague. And quite frankly, that makes you a pretty cruddy person. So I do invite you to call in. If you were one of those, or if you were at the protest, no doubt you're politically inclined. No doubt you might be a person who texts into our radio show as a troll. I hope that you'll explain yourself and subject your. In fact, we will probably reach out to the organizer of that protest, because I specifically, I will defend anybody's right to say whatever they want about Trump, except a vague, potentially interpreted as violent reference to Donald Trump. That's when I have a problem with it. I would call out people on my side if they were doing the same thing about Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, whoever, because we've got to dial it back at some point. And also, I do want to say I have no problem if people want to tag those people with the FBI and the Secret Service to let them know in Pocatello, Idaho, of all places, there are people putting out messages that can reasonably be interpreted as support for violence against Donald Trump. So I do think that it probably ought to be looked at, because we are seeing an increasing number of people who are unhinged, especially on the left. You know, it's funny. We've all heard of the psychological phenomenon of projection. And it's a fascinating thing. Like, I don't know when I first heard about projection. I think I was probably a young adult. I'm like, what's projection? I know they have a projector at the movie theater, but what's projection? You're basically taking something in yourself that you don't like, but because you don't want to face the reality that you're that, or that is part of who you are, you're throwing it at someone else. You're pinning it on someone else that you don't like. You're in a sense, you're expelling it from yourself and attributing it to someone you don't like. And this is happening from the left all over the place. Notice, and I think one of the most glaring examples started back in 2015, 16-ish, probably 16, and you had this narrative that Donald Trump was colluding with the Russians to win the election. Meanwhile, it was actually Hillary Clinton's campaign that was colluding with the Russians to frame Donald Trump to make it look like he was colluding with the Russians. That it's a classic example of it. When the left says all this violence remember the DOJ/FBI, like I can't remember which agency it was, maybe both. They said that right-wing groups are the biggest threat of violence in America today, but yet they could not come up with widespread examples of violence coming from far-right groups, even groups that are white supremacists or white nationalists or whatever the case may be. In the meantime, you had Antifa burning down entire neighborhoods. You had Chaz in Seattle. You had Black Lives Matter, which was pretty militant, not quite as violent, but you had issues from them. It really, when you looked at the political violence that was going on, and quite frankly, look at the assassination attempts that we have seen in recent years, from the congressional baseball shooting that disabled Steve Scalise to the more recent attempts on Donald Trump's life, those are coming from far lefties, but they don't like that. They look into their soul and they're like, I don't like the fact that my side's violent or that I'm violent, so therefore I'm going to accuse the other side of it. It's a very well-known psychological phenomenon, and I will tell you the left is afflicted by it. Very, very much so. Okay, let's get to this issue really quick before I break. About Joe Biden, it was announced over the weekend, big headlines all over the media, that he has advanced prostate cancer. And it's interesting because this is a tough thing to talk about, because on this radio show, we talk about the political implications and the political contexts of things. And at the same time, this is a real man suffering a real cancer. At least I don't think this is faked. But and so heartfelt condolences and best wishes going out to Joe Biden and his family. I don't wish him any harm. At the same time, the announcement of this is rather suspect because you have doctors that will say this does not just crop up on a dime. It takes a while for it to develop and become this advanced. And no doubt at Joe Biden's age, with the health care that he's had a PSA test. So it begs the question, at what point did anyone in the Biden orbit know that he had prostate cancer? Because common sense would tell us it was long before this past weekend. And if it's before this past weekend, then when? And who knew about it? So this is MSNBC, Joe Scarborough, talking with Dr. Zeke Emanuel. And this was just this morning.
You believe it is likely, if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone, that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you were saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
And I'm just curious again, if your doctor to a president of the United States that is a male, that is an older man, would a prostate test, and again, we're just talking about a PSA screening, a blood test that you could do along with all the other blood tests. It's not even that it would be intrusive. Would this not be one of the first tests that you would conduct as a White House doctor?
If you're a White House doctor in this situation, I think you would certainly discuss it with the president and talk about the pros and cons. I think if you then ask, well, if President Biden says, well, if I'm your father, which patients often do, what would you recommend? I think the fact is that most White House doctors would recommend getting the test. And again, the evidence is, look at President Obama, President Bush, younger than President Biden, and they both got the test.
Okay, so we'll leave it just hanging there for just a moment. But even MSNBC is skeptical of this narrative that they just found out. It's 8:27 on News Talk 1079. We'll take a break and be back on this Monday morning.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, it's Brad from Now 105.1 and QP99. I'm in the studio here. I love our studios, by the way. Ranger Rick back there. There's Neal and Julie doing their thing. Hey, when you want to advertise on the radio, what do? You call the radio station, right? But what do you do when you want to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and the other TV streaming services? You can kind of click around on them and make guesses or read books or take courses online on how to do that advertising. Or you could call us at the radio station. At Sandhill Media, we take care of your local radio and digital marketing. So reach out to us at sandhillmediagroup.com and we'll make sure that your message gets heard and seen wherever your customers are.
It's 8:30 on News Talk 1079. Neil Larson and Julie Mason. And you, if you'd like to reach us on the Stones Automotive Group, call and text line. That number's 208-542-1079. I was just talking with Julie about the scope of scandal when it comes to Joe Biden and the cover-up of his dementia. Is this the biggest, and I think it was Greg Gutfeld that talked about this, that it makes Watergate look like a traffic ticket. And it led to the end of a president. Like, it was, Nixon was forced to resign. This is beginning to look like this was a 4-year-long gaslighting operation on the American people. They're trying to say a cover-up. I don't like that word. I mean, I know why they say it, because the function is the same. They're trying to keep hidden from view Joe's true nature. It's more gaslighting because I think we all saw that he had dementia. I think it was pretty obvious to most people.
I feel like the massive, widespread look the other way. There would be people who'd have an issue with the word cover up.
Yeah.
At a minimum, you were ignoring context clues that were obvious.
Yeah.
They weren't ones you had to search for in the background.
Yeah.
They were the clues that were slapping you in the face with every press conference he held, which wasn't very many.
No.
Because he couldn't get through them. With every lid that was called, with the campaign that he ran from his basement, with the fact that he wouldn't hold a cabinet meeting. Like, I could just keep going.
Oh, every day. The falling over on the bicycle. Yes, all of it.
The only hard question you ask him is what ice cream flavor he was getting for the day.
Tripping up the stairs.
Yes. That you had to go from the long stairs to the short stairs to get on the plane.
How many times did we see the mental lapse where he ended it with, anyway?
Yeah.
Like he couldn't finish his thought. So that was his exit, was, anyway.
Yeah, the context clues were just flooding in.
Yeah.
So at a minimum, they looked the other way. At the maximum end of this, it was a cover-up. I lean far closer to cover-up than I do looking the other way.
Yeah.
And so when you think about the scope of that, I think Gutfeld's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he is too. All right, let's go to the phones. We have a caller on the line. Caller, how are you today?
Well, good morning. I've had a number of family members, in fact, it's pretty predominant in my family, to have prostate cancer. I think is a cover-up. There's no way you all of a sudden find out you're stage 4 or whatever in prostate cancer. He's had plenty of tests. They've known about this. Plenty of indications. I'd like to just go back a little bit to a topic you were talking about earlier about Comey. I read on OANN that he was over in Saudi Arabia when he saw those seashells on the shore, supposedly. And so the question is, what was he doing in Saudi Arabia the same time President Trump was there? So I think that's rather odd.
How? Let me ask you this, because a lot of stuff gets said on the internet. Do we know for sure that Comey was in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I read it from OANN, and OANN is One American News Network. Is pretty reliable.
Okay.
So I just took it that because they normally don't put out something of junk or made up.
Yeah, they're still kind of up and coming. They don't want to do anything that's going to damage their credibility. So
not at all. And they were censored heavily before. That's why they're removed from all cable networks, because they used to be one of the best ones before Newsmax got going.
Yeah.
But OANN I get Epic news alerts all the time.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, it's like, okay, what was he doing in Saudi Arabia walking on the beach with seashells that say 8647, 86 to me? I remember when I worked in restaurants, I'm 71.
Okay. So Julie did some quick fact checking real quick.
I just did a really quick search, and it's telling me that James Comey has not visited Saudi Arabia recently. Now, it could have been a trip on the down low. So there is some, and they could possibly have had a source that told them it was there. But a real quick search said he hasn't been there recently.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's okay. Well, I usually trust OANN and Epic News, and I usually get duplicates in Epic Times. But okay, well, that's good. At least you checked it.
All right. Well, thank you for the call. Either way, wherever James Comey was, he shouldn't have put that up on his Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, it would be questionable if he was in Saudi Arabia, so I can understand why the caller is asking that question. But he shouldn't have had that up on his Instagram anyway.
Yeah,
it was a threat to the president.
Yeah.
We got to quit dancing around this stuff.
I know. I agree. If you're leaving it vague and you know they're hostile to the president, then you kind of have to assume they mean the worst.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm tired of dancing around everything with the Democrats. We've done it for far too long, and we say, hey, let's not do it anymore. And then something else happens and we do it again. It's time to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. And what do you think, Julie, of the Pocatello protesters that were carrying around signs that had 8647 on them?
You absolutely know what you're doing. So I'm not going to provide them cover like people are trying to provide James Comey cover. If you made a sign like that, you are in the news cycle enough that you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And you know what James Comey is being accused of by putting up the picture of the shells.
Yeah.
So if you then draw a sign and you carry it around with you at a protest that, by the way, was so schizophrenic and all over the place. You had no idea what was going on. They were protesting more than a dozen different things.
It's become the junk drawer. And it's not just
potpourri.
Pocatello. It's like almost any Democrat protest these days. In order to get enough people there, it's bring your favorite gripe and your sign, and let's just all have a gripe fest together.
Yes, that's exactly what the protest was. So, and you know, if you know enough about the news cycle to draw a sign that says 8647, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you absolutely do. All right, it's 8:37. 208-542-1079 if you'd like to reach us on the program. So far, none of them have opted to call the show. Mm-hmm. You're welcome to, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I do wish our last four letters or numbers were 8649, but 47, I should say. But no, 208-542-1079 if you'd like to reach us. And I am going to reach out to anybody who's at that protest carrying one of those signs or knows them. Call and explain yourself if you have the courage to do it. All right, it's 8:38. 8:43 on News Talk 1079. It's a Monday, and here we are. Mondays just sound sad. Monday. Oh, bother. It's like the Eeyore of days. Mondays are just the Eeyore of weekdays.
Is Friday Tigger?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. My daughter told me that the whole Winnie the Pooh thing, every character in Winnie the Pooh is actually a symbol for an emotion that people feel.
Okay.
It's like actually the whole Winnie the Pooh universe is a macrocosm of what we are as individuals.
Of emotions.
Emotionally. And maybe spiritually too. I don't know. But yeah.
I'd have to go back and examine the characters better to know.
Yeah, which if that's true, that movie by M. Night Shyamalan is plagiarism of Winnie the Pooh. Like Lady in the Water or something.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Remember that movie?
I remember, but I never saw it. So
I remember watching that. M. Night Shyamalan, like, he's either hit or miss for me. And I would say I like 2/3 of his stuff, but like the one that had, was it Samuel L. Jackson in the wheelchair? Remember that one? Cracked, I think it was called.
I have no idea.
Didn't like that movie at all.
M. Night Shyamalan is not that's not going to be my choice of movies.
Like I loved Signs. I thought that was great. And there's been several that I have really liked. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Should we go to the phones?
Sure.
All right, let's go to the next caller. Welcome, caller. How are you today?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Doing well. What's up?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment about Biden. The latest news about him, then he has this type of prostate cancer, and everybody's like feeling, oh, yeah, well, we didn't like him, but we have sympathy for him and his family, but everybody assumes that maybe he really was diagnosed with that type of cancer, even though it just doesn't make sense. Then he could have that type. Then the family and himself, he's just aware at this time. But what about then actually he doesn't have prostate cancer? Then this is just another lie to kind of like to create some sympathy, since there is a book coming up on Tuesday, right, called Original Sin.
Yeah.
And is revealing his really state of mind, and he was not really all together there as a president, and even before. So maybe this is just to create, like, say, some sympathy, some kind like feel sorry for the man.
Yeah.
So I mean, anything is possible with the Democrats.
Well, if you want my really cynical take on it, because I do find the timing of the announcement very suspect. Yet again, they are using Joe Biden. Yet again, he is a human shield to distract us all from their sins.
Yeah. Well, another thing is when he went on The View, he was portrayed like, oh, wow, he's doing so great, healthy. I don't know. Now he's thinking about what's the next thing in his life, what he's going to do. Like he's still going.
Yeah.
So you see, it's like it contradicts everything that they say. I mean, I don't know if the Democrats, the media, liberal, I don't know, they don't realize how they contradict themselves, and they expect at this point, and the American people are going to continue to believe their lies. That's kind of like sad, and it's sad, especially about the people that actually believe those things.
Yeah. No, it is. It is really sad. And all of it's sad. Thank you for the call.
She's not the only one who has thought that this was a potential. They've known about it all the time, so they're going to use him again and unveil this diagnosis on the Sunday, 2 days after a 4-minute excerpt of his Robert Hur interview was released, where he clearly doesn't know when his son died. He doesn't know when he was vice president. He never answers the question that was asked of him. He's stumbling all over the place. He can't put a thought together. Yeah.
Let's just play some of it. It goes on for 4.5 minutes. We're not going to play all of that. It just is more of what you're about to hear.
Living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer focus shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate.
Okay, we can see that this is going nowhere. It's just a meandering from one fragment of a thought to another fragment of a thought.
At about the 3-minute mark ish, he has to ask, when was he vice president? He asks that question. He does get the exact day of Bo's death correct in this, which was May 30th.
Yeah.
He doesn't know the year. Okay. And he's off by several years in this time frame at the beginning of what you played. This is clearly a person who is not coherent during this interview.
Yeah.
And Robert Hur got grilled and ridiculed.
Oh, they shredded him.
On Capitol Hill.
He was so gentle with Biden. Mm-hmm. He was just gathering information and then giving what appears to be a pretty honest summary that he was just a confused older man, and they're not going to prosecute someone like that.
Towards the end of the audio, he asks Biden, do you want to take a break? Like, he's trying to help him out here.
Right.
Go, let's have a break, get your thoughts together, whatever. Biden says no, and then continues to ramble.
Yeah, it was weird. In fact, we'll play that last few.
Impression. Bo knew how much I adored him. And this sounds so, whether or not. Anyway. And so.
I'm wondering if this is a good time to take a break. Briefly.
Let me just keep going and get it done.
He want to keep going and get it done. Like, Hur is like, do you want to take a break? Because he can tell it's not working right then. And Joe's like, no, I want to get it done. So.
And also, this was 2024, right? Mm-hmm. Who still sits in an office with a clock ticking that loud? I
That's true. You know what? I could run the noise reduction on this. We could probably hear it better if I did. But there's nothing to hear. That's the whole point.
There's nothing to hear. And my point about the clock is what an unfriendly atmosphere. You just don't need that.
Well, and I also think you're doing a special counsel interview. It is not expensive to mic people up now and capture their audio. Like, why?
So weird.
It is weird. I'm like, it sounded like you're in a large room with very little carpet and your recorder is 20 feet away. Like,
absolutely.
There's a lot better ways to capture
the
audio, but that's just my pet peeve.
So we played that in reference to the caller, and the caller saying is there potential that the cancer diagnosis is made up. Well, this is why people were floating that idea on the internet after it dropped on Sunday, is that listening to this is very damning and very clear that there was some sort of a cover-up, because people could see this part of Biden all the time. There was a reason they were calling lids at 9 a.m. frequently.
Yeah.
So maybe the cancer diagnosis could be a cover so that people won't look at this.
Right. It's a way to at least soften it.
Mm-hmm.
And you had David Axelrod suggesting just that. And this is a quick clip.
His medical condition now, his announced medical condition now, do you believe that silences or delays a lot of conversations about his, last year and a half of his presidency for now?
Yeah, well, I think those conversations are going to happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now as he's struggling through this.
See, I don't think so. I don't believe that. I don't think the fact that he has prostate cancer means we don't address this other political cover-up issue. I mean, that's the most important thing to the Republic right now is, did you have people in the White House that were covering up Joe Biden's cognitive decline to maintain political power? That has to be story number one. I'm sorry that he's suffering with his prostate and has cancer, but I don't think that can subtract from the seriousness of this cover-up and this scandal that appears to be unfolding. It's not unfolding. We've known about this for a long time, but it's about to reach an apex here, I think, especially with the book coming out. And I think when Americans find out the lengths that they went to try and distract us from Joe Biden's cognitive decline, they're going to recognize the announcement of this prostate cancer as just a continuation of that distraction operation.
Look, I don't even know if David Axelrod can even make this claim. The people who were doing the cover-up, the journalists, the administration, the cabinet members, the press secretary, we could go on and on. That's how vast and wide this cover-up is. They don't have a connection to the cancer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you don't. If you want to forgive some of Joe Biden's sins because he's suffering medically, both physically and mentally, okay, David Axelrod, we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
Jen Psaki had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Karine Jean-Pierre had nothing to do with that. You were covering up.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's more cover up. I mean, that's what it is. It's just they just keep doing. Mm-hmm. You cannot train them to not do this.
Yeah.
They're continuing to do it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think we have. That's why I think it's important for us to actually press on the gas, not the brake right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to soften my coverage on it. My heart aches for anybody who has to deal with cancer. If you have a loved one, well, I had a loved one suffer for more than 5 years with cancer and eventually pass from it. You have a loved one suffering from dementia.
Yes.
We both can understand closely the difficulties that Joe Biden is going through.
Yeah.
That doesn't diminish our criticism of people who were doing the cover-up does not diminish the kindness that you can show to Joe Biden. This man has been used and abused by his family and his party.
Well, and he just continues to be, too. Look, I don't have a lot of love for Joe Biden, but they're using him. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 8:56 on News Talk 107.9. Back after this. All right, 8:59, that's going to do it for this hour. But we have another hour coming up on News Talk 107.9. And we're back. It's 9:07, hour 2, underway on News Talk 107.9. So, Julie, over the last 3 or 4 days, we've had a couple of frost advisories in addition to this morning. My tomatoes are fine.
Good.
I've covered them. Took out a couple of old sheets and threw them over the tomato cages and made sure I did the same thing last night as I was looking at it was like 45 degrees, and I thought, they'll be fine. And then I thought, okay, but if they're not, if we have a sudden drop in temperature and my tomatoes get killed, I feel like I'll be held accountable for that in the afterlife. So I thought I'd better go out and throw some covering over the tomatoes. And,
well, way to be a good dad. Well done.
There you go. I'm the dad to my tomatoes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I got my tomatoes, of course, from Town and Country Gardens, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point of bringing this up. It was that you'll find the vegetables, the flowers, all the supplies, all the things that you need, you'll find it at Town and Country Gardens.
It's such a good visit, too. When you go down to Town and Country Gardens, make sure that you don't just go in the very first room. It's like you walk through Narnia's closet and there's all these beautiful things at the back.
Yes.
You get to where they have all their hanging flower baskets. That's a gorgeous room.
Yep.
You have the 2 plant rooms. You have the outdoor where all the fountains and the trees and everything. It's just so nice.
It is. It's like Narnia without the lion. I like it.
The lion was a good guy, though.
He was a good guy, but they don't have a lion at. I don't want to start a rumor that there's an African
Rex
lion.
is now going, I'm getting a lion.
I know.
I am getting a lion.
That would be cool. Rex, we have a marketing idea for you. Get a lion to roam the grounds at Town and Country Gardens. That'd be sweet. And then call it Narnia.
There you go. Yeah. Visit Town and Country Gardens. They're south of Idaho Falls on the Yellowstone Highway across from the malting plant. They're great friends of ours, and you will get absolutely everything you need for your lawn and garden.
To clarify, not the malting plant as great friends of ours, but the Town and Country Garden.
I don't even know a single person at the malting plant. Maybe they're cool, too.
They might be.
Maybe they have a lion.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. I know one guy that works out there. His last name is Lee. Bar Lee. Is that stupid?
That is like the bottom. One of the worst. Come on.
That wins the contest for the worst on the fly.
My goodness.
Come on. It was slightly funny. Right? No.
Chuckle.
Okay. Well, I tried, okay? You can't fault me for not trying. So.
E for effort.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Anyway, where do we go from here?
I don't know. Let's talk about the news because it's overwhelming, the amount.
There is a lot. Hillary Clinton... okay, let's talk. There's a couple of Hillary Clinton stories. Donald Trump on Truth Social shared a video compilation of stories about, quote unquote, all the people the Clintons have had murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And people were saying, why is Trump sharing this? And my question is, why is Trump sharing this?
It's a little... There was some speculation that he was sharing it. By the way, you should watch the video. It's on Trump's X and his Truth Social.
Yeah.
It's a little disturbing.
Oh, yeah.
You look at it and go, there's no way this many accidents happen.
Well, I'm not going to, but if we had a flash poll and our question was, have the Clintons had people, 86th, then I bet you at least 75% of our respondents would say yes.
I don't even know if we'd get somebody who said no.
Yeah, we may not.
But anyway, back to Trump. There was speculation that he is putting that out there because Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are going to drop something later this week in reference to Hillary Clinton possibly being in trouble or some evidence that they have found that implicates them in one of these deaths. I don't know. So lots of internet rumors that were running wild after Trump put this out.
Yeah, and I thought about that too, but it is interesting because that is not just from the conspiracy realm. That's from the 20 years ago conspiracy realm, or even 30 years ago conspiracy realm. So why now? Why bring that? I mean, the Clintons haven't held political power since, 2016.
Right.
So it's been almost 10 years since a Clinton has had any political power. So why now? It would be my biggest question. I don't know. Why do that? So
I don't know. It is an interesting video, though. So
yeah, it really is. I mean, I remember, I think the number, oddly enough, the I don't know if you can add the word legitimate number of the Clinton dead bodies list, but there were, for a long time, there were 47 people. 47 people.
Okay.
So I'm not connecting anything. I'm just saying that's kind of a unique coincidence.
Yes.
But there were 47. And as you look over, and you knew about some of them, like you had heard the stories, and indeed those people died, and yes, it was kind of mysterious and whatever. Not all 47 of them, though, were jaw droppers. They're like, well, that could have just been. I mean, we all know people, and I think there was some stretching to include certain people on the list.
Get to 47.
Yeah, because I mean, if you use the exact same standards, I have a dead bodies list, and you have a dead bodies list. If we were going to make the same connections
Who would be on it?
In our lives, yes. Well, I don't know. But so I kind of toss those out, like, you know, a brother of a friend that, you know,
yes.
If you look at the obituaries and you know somebody, or you know somebody who knew them, well, that could be anything.
You're going to have enough there.
But there are some. I think there are people who posed a legitimate threat to the Clintons' political viability, and they did die under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, and I don't know why we're that. Like, I've always had this thought, I've had this duality in my mind, not to bring up a Kamala Harris term, where I would push that into the conspiracy realm. Like, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. Like, they didn't have people killed. That wouldn't happen. Like, you just don't want to believe it. So you just kind of push it over there. You're intrigued by it, and it's interesting, but you're still, that didn't happen between you and the stories, right? But then I look around the world. I look at human nature, China, Russia. I could rattle off how many people who were overtly opposing Vladimir Putin have been disappeared. How many people who challenge the communist regime in China or North Korea, they just get disappeared. Mm-hmm. And when the appetite for political power gets big enough, then the aversion to murdering people becomes subdued to that appetite for political power.
And maybe not even subdued, but justified.
Yes.
Right. You're just... Okay.
I can't let them get in the way of me saving the world.
Okay, let's talk a really recent one that people would know, right? So a lot of people think it's super questionable that person, the chef for Obama, died in water he could stand up in, especially when he was a swimmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we could come up with legitimate reasons why he drowned in that water. But what does that man, if he knows something that will harm the Obama agenda, the Obama legacy, he's definitely disposable.
Oh, yeah. I
mean, I don't even think that that's a conspiracy theory. I think that is human nature. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to have that much power. Watch Dateline, for heaven's sakes. People are disposable if you get in the way of love, if you get in the way of inheritance, if you get in the way of a job. So why would the Obamas or the Clintons or anyone else be excluded from that?
They wouldn't. And that's the ugly reality that we have to... Butler, Pennsylvania. I mean, look at that. We still don't know that whole story. I mean, it's been almost, 10 months now, more than that. And we still haven't learned much about that kid that showed up trying to kill. We know a few weird things, but where's the rest of the info?
Okay, so to match today's news cycle, if we just made the realization that why do we create that buffer? Because if you're disposable, and it can happen in just about any tax bracket, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't hiding a cancer diagnosis for the president be possible? It would.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
If it's going to harm certain people,
the
doctor's going to lie. If it's going to, if there's enough money attached to it, the doctor's going to lie. If they're I don't know why we're shocked about this stuff.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's reality. It's just painful to admit that that's the world we live in.
Well, how, by the way, they find the bag of cocaine in the White House a couple of years ago. That is one of the most surveilled and protected structures on the planet. But they don't know who brought the cocaine. They know. Right? So they'll lie. They'll do whatever they need to protect the political power. I mean, we don't know who it was. Hunter! Excuse me, Hunter! I had a cough there. But we know it was,
It absolutely.
Right. I mean, that is the Occam's razor explanation.
Yes, we're covering all this up. And I thought that yesterday when it all of a sudden is just magically announced that Biden has a very almost the most aggressive form of prostate cancer you can have. And it just, this diagnosis, poof, just
pops
happened.
Up. Yeah.
Like, come on, the Occam's razor here is they've known about it for months, if not years.
Yeah.
And it's just gotten to this spot.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And you know what? Maybe they kept it on the shelf. Maybe they, okay, can I float something by you? Because prostate cancer can be very manageable. Okay, it can be managed. So I don't think that that's a deal killer for most Americans if your president has prostate cancer. Okay, well, get some radiation treatments. There are treatments for this. Even now in stage 4, they're saying that this is probably pretty treatable. Did they deliberately withhold it? Not because they thought in the moment it would look bad, but they knew that they needed something as a tool of distraction for a future moment like this.
Was it a binder?
It makes you wonder.
A binder you took off the shelf?
Yeah.
I did see people floating the concept yesterday that they anticipated at first that Biden would win the White House again. Kamala would be the vice president, and then he would die from this cancer diagnosis in the White House, and you would then put Kamala in, and she would have gotten her full time.
Okay, so make the switcheroo in term 2.
That we were all wrong about the time when the switcheroo was going to happen. It was actually meant to happen, but Biden's cognitive disintegration
happened
too fast, and we couldn't get Biden across the finish line, and now we have Trump.
Okay, very well could be. All right, let's go to the phones. Caller, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Neil?
Doing pretty well. What's up?
I want to tie a couple things together for you.
Okay.
They don't. The White House is one of the most surveilled places in the world, and they don't know who brought the cocaine. I mean, Hunter, sorry, your cough is contagious.
Yeah, sorry, it's going around.
Number 2, Jeffrey Epstein was killed in a very surveilled prison system. What makes you think they can't get to anybody?
Yeah.
And lastly, what do you call a cow that just had a baby?
I don't know. What do you call a cow that just had a baby?
Decaffeinated. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you for the call.
Okay, that was a good one.
I like that.
Yeah.
That was better than barley. So,
yeah, it was better than barley.
All right. I tried, though.
You did good. You did good. It wasn't the best. That's okay.
Right.
You're not going to make all the shots you shoot.
That is true. You're right. Some of them you're going to miss badly.
Yeah, it's going to be an air ball, and that's okay.
Right. That's true. And I'm the Michael Jordan of dad jokes. And even Michael Jordan missed some shots.
Good.
So,
a lot, actually.
Yeah, he really did. All right. 208-542-1079 if you'd like to reach us on the program this morning. Today's one of those news cycles that doesn't have good boundaries around it because we've got so many things in flux right now with Donald Trump talking to Putin and Zelensky today. Who knows? We may have a provisional peace deal that we're talking about tomorrow. You have that. You also have the Biden prostate story, and suspiciously happening right when we have the big cover-up book coming out with Jake Tapper. You also have new stuff happening with James Comey and the reaction to that. I don't think that you had some guy, I can't remember who it was, predicting James Comey's going to jail over this. I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either.
I think he knows right where the line is.
Mm-hmm. He danced right up to it.
Yeah, he did. But I don't think he is. You have Dan Bongino and Kash Patel saying, stay tuned. In about a week, we're going to be announcing some really big stuff. So I don't know. Like, there's a lot. And then you had the 86-47 protests in Pocatello. You know what? If I had been at that protest, even if I didn't like Trump, I would have said, either you take down your sign or I'm leaving. I don't want to be associated with this.
Yeah, distance yourself. And maybe they were, because, we're looking at it through a 2D lens, pictures that were provided. And maybe the groups were really distant from each other because it was a potpourri protest, which is what they've all turned into. Yeah. There is no set concept. You had people with Ukrainian flags, so they had a problem with that. You had people hating Trump and calling for what I believe is the killing of him with the 86-47. You had a woman dressed up from The Handmaid's Tale. You had, what else was there? Victor Perez. So that's the young man that was shot by Pocatello police. You had people protesting over that. All over the place. There is no set concept. It was just show up and air your grievance moment.
Yeah. One of the stories I read said the Victor Perez, I guess, demonstration was actually not part of the lefty orange man bad presentation.
Yeah, so maybe there could have been these separate pods that were going on that day.
Yeah. Now, maybe they wanted to look like there was more bulk in their numbers than there really was, so maybe they planned it at the same time. Like, let's do this thing. But when you go from 1,000 people showing up a couple months ago to only 300 people, and the estimates were 200 to 300. So let's just generously say you had 300. That's a third of what you had. So I have to ask a question. Why did 700 people decide they didn't want to show up anymore to this?
Well, they only had so much to give, Neil.
That's true.
Their outrage had a ceiling, and the ceiling was pretty low.
That's true. Their outrage turned stale.
Yeah.
It smelled rancid. So they're like,
throw it out.
My outrage
I'm angry about something in Hollywood now, so I'll move on.
And maybe if you got him in an honest moment, they'd say, Trump's actually doing some really cool things.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you look at last week and don't think that he's done some cool things.
Oh, I know.
Honestly. Yeah. Last week was, there are very few humans on the earth who could have pulled off what Trump did last week.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? If you hate Trump, feel free to keep paying taxes on tips. And feel free to keep paying taxes on overtime that you work.
Yeah.
If you hate Trump that bad, at least be intellectually honest enough to pay more taxes than you're legally required to pay.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go ahead and divide the tax groups. Those who hate Trump can pay the one tax. Those who love Trump can pay the other. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know what else? Can I describe what I think is a rather comical but potential scenario? That there's a number of people that showed up to that protest that secretly voted for Trump, but they want to keep their friends happy, so they showed up with their stupid sign. All right, I don't want to lose my friends, so I'll show up. But
I'm trying to date this girl over here, so she drugged me down to this protest, and here I am.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm whipped, so I got to be here. But I really can't wait for there to be no taxes on overtime or tips. But I'll hold the stupid sign, pay my dues here.
Goodness.
And they really like Orange Man.
Yeah.
So.
Another thing we haven't talked about is this bombing of the fertility clinic in Palm Springs.
Oh, yeah.
The guy bombed the fertility clinic because he didn't give consent to be born. Yeah, let that sit.
Okay. Does he know that doesn't apply retroactively?
Yeah, I don't know, but that was his... he has a manifesto and everything.
Wait a minute.
Yes, it doesn't make sense.
It does to them, though. That's what's crazy.
That's the scary part.
It does to them.
Enough that he's now dead, and he created all this damage. The beautiful thing, it was a IVF specific clinic.
Yeah.
No No eggs were harmed. Like nothing, no, I don't even know what to call it. Backstock product. The people who had invested and had their eggs there, none of that was harmed in the bombing.
How did that happen?
Yeah, beautiful, right?
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, that is. I did see that. There's just too much going on.
There's so much.
There really is. There's a lot. There's a lot happening. Let's see. What haven't we got? Here, can we talk about, this is a Joe Biden dementia angle. This is Kamala Harris right after, I keep wanting to say Ben-Hur, and it's not this special. That was something different. And this is Robert Hur, special counsel.
I have been privileged and proud to serve as Vice President of the United States with Joe Biden as President of the United States.
Okay, I got to stop. Is she drunk, right? President of the United States. Yeah. I think she is.
She could be.
Okay, all the attention has been on the cover-up of Joe Biden's dementia.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a secondary scandal here on the cover-up of Kamala Harris's alcoholism?
Oh, yeah. But unfortunately, and I hate to say this about our elected officials, but I bet there is a significant portion, 20 to 30%, that are drunk most of the time.
You're probably not wrong about that. All right, 9:29, back after this. Hi, Facebook.
Hi,
How are you?
Facebook. Okay, speaking of plagiarism, I briefly saw a story yesterday when I was searching. Didn't send it to you because the amount of news that I chose not to send was about as massive as the amount of news I chose to send.
Yeah.
The oldest Obama daughter is in a plagiarism scandal.
Really?
She is a director, and she directed a commercial for a nonprofit or something.
Yeah.
I've got the hiccups. It's basically a ripoff. Like they were playing them side by side.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Did she know?
Well, you'd have to if they were that identical.
That's true.
Right?
You would have to know.
And please tell me how a 25-year-old woman is a multimillionaire.
Good question. Guess when you're Obama's daughter, you have opportunities other people don't have.
Little bit of money funneling to you from here, a little bit of money funneling to you from there.
Uh-huh.
My dad loved Ben-Hur.
Yeah. I just remember a guy in a short skirt and a chariot. That's all I remember. I don't know why I remember that, but...
Okay, Barb said yes.
Good. So what day is she?
She's Tuesday.
She's Tuesday. So if you missed it, I'm leaving for Alaska next week. But not flying. Driving both directions. Helping a friend move.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be... I thought of creating a Facebook group called Neal and Steve's Excellent Adventure and posting updates on that. I think that would be kind of fun.
How rough do you guys start looking by day 7?
I don't know. And, yeah. So Steve told me, I mean, we're going to take the interior route there because that's the fastest way, and we'll be in a truck and trailer. But I'll be driving probably a Chevy Malibu when I come back. And it's a little bit longer route. Like it might be 4 or 5 hours longer. But he said it is gorgeous because you're near the coast.
Mm-hmm.
I might come home that way. And you come down through Victoria and...
Well, just commit to doing 16 or 17-hour days and you can come home the different way. You might as well.
Way. Yeah, I might as well.
Like, you're never going to do this again in your lifetime.
Probably not.
This is a one and done.
You're probably not because you don't drive to Alaska and from Alaska.
No,
it's not like you just decide to do that. So.
Yeah, so approach it that way.
It's 9:33 now on News Talk 1079. Neil Larson, Julie Mason. You can save up to $5,000 instantly on your home purchase at Clayton Homes Sign and Save event. It's going on right now. And by the way, you can save up to $2,500 on a single section home or $5,000 on a multi-section home. And Clayton Homes is just changing the way homes are built. They make them affordable to buy and actually affordable. They cost less to live in. Just in time for summer, you can get a home equipped with energy smart features for year-round comfort and a lifetime of savings. And every Clayton-built home uses products from the world's most trusted brands. The craftsmen at Clayton Homes build their homes in state-of-the-art facilities that help protect your new home from the elements during construction. So they're ready to help you find your dream home. They're here to help answer all of your questions from floor plans to design features, and you can check out their fully furnished new home models and see all the options available to create the perfect home. In a moment, I'll give you that web address, but I do need to tell you terms and conditions for the Sign and Save Sales event at manufacturedhomeoffers.com. Available only at participating Clayton Homes family of brands retailers through August 31st. Amount of savings may be limited. Ask for details. May not be available with certain financing. Lender restrictions apply. And again, you can visit the local Clayton Homes near you or browse their limited time deals at manufacturedhomeoffers.com. That's manufacturedhomeoffers.com to learn more. All right, 6:35. Let's take a really quick break for our news. We'll come back and be back on track and continue after this on News Talk 1079. Okay,
the story about the 7 remaining inmates out of New Orleans that escaped, 10 escaped, they've caught 3.
Oh, good. Okay.
You're not hearing the whole story on like Fox or whatever. They don't have enough time to get deep enough into this.
Okay.
There's a political angle to this.
Okay.
The sheriff's race in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Is heating up.
Okay.
3-way race. The real strong contenders are 2 women, the current sheriff and somebody who wants to replace her. The woman who wants to replace her has run on a platform that the jails in New Orleans are not safe. They're not funded. They're understaffed. The people eat like crap. Like, that has been a huge platform issue for them.
Okay.
All of a sudden, these 10 guys are in a pod, and there's not a single person watching the pod. They're gone to dinner, and they have a tool that cuts rebar. They ripped the sink off the sink toilet combo off the wall, used the tool to cut through the rebar, and escaped out. And no one, are you ready for this next part? It all happened right after midnight. They don't figure it out until 8:30 in the morning when they do a head count. The U.S. Marshals are not informed until an hour later, and then the New Orleans police are not informed until another hour after that.
No way.
So your main police force that is going to watch out for these guys that are on the run, they weren't informed for 2 hours. They got a nearly 12-hour head start. Tell me there wasn't something happening there.
Okay, but who benefits from this? Like who?
The woman running for sheriff who claims the jails are a big, big problem.
So is there any evidence of her involvement?
Not yet.
Other than circumstantial, obviously.
Circumstantial, not yet, but somehow it was an inside job.
That's crazy. Like, you would never let that many inmates be together like that.
Mm-hmm. And have no one in the pod watching them? Not a single person?
And a tool to cut rebar.
And a tool to cut rebar. It's very well known in that jail. Mm-hmm. It's called the New Orleans Justice Center, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
That the locking systems are all wonky. The inmates have been able to break open out of their cell doors. They've had problems with it.
Okay.
And
they bought them off Temu, by the way.
Yeah. So they're supposed to be upping and repairing the locking systems. So they didn't need any help with that. They were able to get the locks undone. They needed the rebar tool.
Okay. Wow. That's terrible.
Yeah. So now there's 7 people on the loose. 4 of them murderers.
They're going to kill again. They always do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I'd love your take on the Idaho murders leak to Dateline. That's another one that's getting
It's crazy. Even if you figure it out, I mean, that it obviously came from inside the courthouse or a legal staff member, because it could be either. Mm-hmm. Unless you can absolutely pin it on somebody, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, maybe not.
Other than you're just really disappointed in whomever did it.
Yeah, but they didn't break a law.
I don't think so. You would have to have such massive evidence And Dateline's not going to tell you where they got it from.
No, nor should they. That nobody had ever talked to Dateline again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just don't think you're going to be able to find that kind of evidence. So
Yeah.
if they had that hard-hitting evidence that, yep, Dateline says, here's the email, or Dateline says, here's a transcript of the phone conversation we have, or, whatever, I don't think you can prove it. So I just don't think anything's going to happen.
So the question is, who gets helped by the leak?
So...
Oh, we got to go back on in 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's a really complicated answer.
9:41 on News Talk 1079. Neil Larson along with Julie Mason. And if you'd like to reach us, 208-542-1079 is the number. And so, Julie, did you have any protein over the weekend? Did you eat any meat?
Yeah. Let me think what I had.
I hope you had a thick, juicy steak.
I didn't, and now I'm feeling really bad about it that I didn't.
Are you hungry?
Sure.
Yeah, me too.
People eat steak for breakfast all the time.
I eat steak, and in my head, I think Grand Peaks.
There we go.
Yeah, that's like an automatic response now.
Maybe that's a goal we should make, to have steak for breakfast one of these times.
Oh, they do steak and eggs.
All the time. So. We should do that.
Okay, let's do that. But I think I might just stick with the thick steak with some A1 and,
Mm-hmm. Steak, hash browns, and eggs. This is a fantastic meal.
I think it is. Yeah, you don't limit it.
It's a 3 times a day meal.
Yes, it is. And a fourth if you get up in the middle of the night and nobody knows about it. So, but Grand Peaks has all the kinds of steak and cuts of meat that you'd want. They have ribs, they have dogs, they have chicken, they have pork, and of course they have steak. They have hamburger. They've got it all.
Yep. And all of that's available at their website, gpprimemeats.com. You can see all the packages there. There's a great grilling package, all the great brats and everything you need to have an outdoor barbecue. So you'd love that. And make sure that if you don't see something that you're looking for, if you have a question, give them a call. They have fantastic customer service. And that's just above and beyond the high quality cuts of beef and pork and all of the meat that you're looking for.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have a troll?
I'm not sure what's going on there.
The world, that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't know either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone else said, keep an eye on the former White House doctor. We're just going to go through the mailbag here for just a moment. He may become very unhealthy very soon. Biden's group could have known of his prostate cancer all along, but would allow him to run and hopefully win. Then his VP would become president. The switcheroo scenario you put forward.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else said the Democrats can't find a decent candidate, so maybe there's an underlying push that it might be time for Hillary to get back in the run. Maybe they want to remind everyone of her questionable. Okay, look, you know what the problem is in the Democrats? Can I just state it very simplistically? They've run off all the decent people.
Yeah, do they not have any up-and-coming talent?
No, they've run off all the decent people. They didn't have a lot to start with either.
Yeah, it's as if they're just vacant from the age 70 down.
Yeah.
I don't understand. You just don't have anybody?
I mean, I don't know why we care all that much. Like, we're winning. I'll take it. But I look at it like, you know how sometimes in relationships, you'll have someone who feels like they need to fix someone. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I feel like we need to fix the Democrat Party.
We're acting as the fixers.
And I know that doesn't help us at all. Like, no. I don't like it. It's been like popcorn munching fun to watch the Democrat Party implode and not be able to get their legs under them. Mm-hmm. But I watch this and I'm like, you know what their problem is? They've replaced a sellable one I disagree with, but a sellable ideology with horrifically toxic crap that nobody in America really wants.
Mm-hmm.
They've also done the same thing with the people. It used to be that you had Democrats who I was never really a huge fan of, but they were people that were sellable as politicians. They were pretty good retail politicians. Now we got these blue-haired weirdos that have taken over the joint, and they have no chance. They have no chance of legitimately winning election in the future. Now, they could steal it or whatever the case, but they have to pull shenanigans to get enough Americans to vote their way in order to win.
Yeah, can you imagine how frustrating this is for Gavin Newsom, he followed the plan perfectly. He is a polished retail politician. He has accomplished destroying California, and people have let him do it.
Yeah.
Like, he has done all of the appropriate steps, and it is a brick wall that he has hit.
Yeah.
He is not crazy enough to be their candidate.
Yeah. No, you're right. He's not. And he's now in a pickle.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a tough spot. And I think the problem that you have, and I don't always give out political consulting for free, but I'm going to give everybody a freebie right now. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. How condescending does that sound? I do think sometimes politicians, in order to raise their floor, they lower their ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Gavin Newsom. Like, I think he was a presidential prospect up until a few years ago. But he knew he had to placate the blue-haired wing of the Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, he has lowered his ceiling nationally to where he's a failed governor. He looks like a president. He talks like a president. He's got the silver tongue.
He's got the beautiful wife. He's got the little family.
He's got the package. Like he's got everything visually. But he also now has a disastrous track record that he would have to try and defend. And America, if anything, Donald Trump has recharged America's BS meter when it comes to politicians. And they've done that with Gavin Newsom. And so in Gavin Newsom's effort to raise his floor, he's lowered his ceiling to a point where I don't think he's viable as a presidential contender, at least not anytime soon.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to resurrect him. Their options are, you're looking at the worst menu at what is supposed to be a restaurant that speaks to half of the country. Yeah. They're holding open the menu and going, I don't want that. Oh, I don't want that. No, we can't do that one. Like, there's nothing on the menu.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to revamp it. And I think Gavin Newsom is going to come back around.
Yeah, I think he will. And if he's smart, he'll take advantage of the current disarray. Because I think, you know what, there are politicians on the left and Clinton was the gold standard of this politician, didn't actually really have any core driving beliefs. He believed whatever he needed to articulate in order to win the room, in order to win the moment. And he was pretty good at it. Joe Biden was decent at it through his political pre-dementia. Joe Biden was pretty good. He's another guy. You can go back and you can find contradicting statements all over the place that Joe Biden has made. He doesn't have an ideological core or a set of philosophical principles. He goes out and he says, okay, what context am I in right now? What do I need to say? What position do I need to take in order to win this moment right now? That's Gavin Newsom. I don't think Gavin Newsom has any hardcore, dedicated political beliefs, but he's in California. And right now, or at least in the recent past and for several years, California has been nut job leftist crazy. And so that's what Gavin Newsom has placated to. But I promise you, Gavin Newsom would... If he were in, what would be a state that's just sort of center left? Connecticut?
Well, sure, or New Mexico, or, yeah.
Okay, let's go with New Mexico. Because I said Connecticut, but I think Rosa DeLauro's from Connecticut, and she literally is blue-haired.
Yeah.
So I can't really use that as an example. Yeah. So let's go with New Mexico. I think that's a good example. He would very much just be a center-left moderate, if he could be. Certain districts in Arizona are center left as well. And so he just hasn't had the luxury to be that. But I think he'd probably be a much better politician if he didn't have to placate to the far left and could be more center left. He'd be much more Clinton-esque.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's going to have to be a reckoning. They're going to have to come back around. There's no way that they can continue in this pathway. They've destroyed the trust of America. This whole, it's funny, I just said reckoning, and that is exactly what the Wall Street Journal is calling it. Yeah. A reckoning for the Biden cover-up. Like, there's going to have to be some sort of change that happens to the Democrat Party. You have destroyed the trust of the American public. And it's going to take a minute to get that back.
Well, and I think, and maybe longer than a minute, I think that there needs to be a full-throated apology and acceptance, and for those who were not involved, they need to be outraged and oust the people that were involved. There's no place for them.
Stand
anymore.
up to it. What do you have to lose at this point, right?
Yeah, you drained your political bank account to cover up for Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And there are no deposits coming back to that bank account anytime soon.
Right.
So
stand up and do something.
Move on. Move on. Learn to code and move on. Find something else to do. Because there really isn't a future for you.
I can't code, but I'm pretty sure if I was a drinker and I was drunk like most of them, I wouldn't be able to code anyway. So I don't know if that's an option for them.
That's probably
They
true.
probably need to fix their lives first before they learn a new way of politics.
That may be a good option for them. All right, 9:51 on News Talk 107.9 208-542-1079. We'll be back after this.
Our guy's saying he's not a troll.
Okay.
He's calling Trump the Cheetos warlord, and he says that that's a kind thing.
Oh, he's owning the whole.
Yes.
Okay. Like we're part of the vast right-wing conspiracy.
Yes.
Well, I was confused by that reference, but I looked up and he had a negative thing to say about Fang Fang's boyfriend. So,
Fang Fang.
Tudor Dixon.
Oh, I saved something for Facebook Live because I think of you guys when I am searching for headlines. Hold, please. I saved two things. Did I send you the Tiger King story?
Me?
Uh-huh. I saved two stories, and I couldn't remember what I sent you. Tiger King's Joe Exotic, so that's the Tiger King.
Mm-hmm.
He's married to that Hispanic guy.
Yeah.
He got detained by ICE. He's getting sent back to Mexico.
He was illegal?
Yep, Tiger King's losing his husband.
Oh, no. I thought that story was over.
Tiger King's in jail, though, right?
I think so.
So this guy's just living on Tiger King's land?
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening.
Really? Oh, man. I don't have the bandwidth for this.
There was so much stuff yesterday.
Yeah.
So much stuff.
Oh. I really don't have it in me. I don't. You know what? This was I believe Tiger King. Okay, look at the guy in the lower right. He looks like he has mascara on, like JD Vance. Don't you think?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Giving his eyes a little definition. I don't know. I've never seen that guy before. But.
Harris is like, hey, who did your makeup?
Yeah. Maybe he's born with it. No, like I feel like watching the Tiger King was sort of that collective moment where we're like, okay, we won't tell anybody about this ever again.
I watched it during COVID lockdown. I had a puzzle going in my. It was colder because we were still doing fires.
Yeah.
In our fireplace, and I had a puzzle going in front of the fireplace, and I remember just sitting there being just demoralized by COVID-19, and just going, "Is this the new reality? What are we doing?" I have dug into the depths of despair, stuck in my house watching Tiger King.
But you couldn't not watch. Like it was.
Oh, it was so bad.
I don't know what that was all about. 9:56 on News Talk 1079. Last couple of minutes here. Swing by Town and Country Gardens, and hopefully we're going to descend out of the frost danger, Julie, that we've seen the last 2 or 3 nights, and people can get on with their gardens and get on with growing and get ready and get all the stuff that you need at Town and Country Gardens.
Yeah, and if you're looking for just like an actual emotional lift, this isn't, a psychological hour with Neal and Julie, but it's really a nice visit to just go there. If you need to get away from all of the yuck and the junk in the world, Town and Country Gardens is a great place to visit.
You go walk in, you're like, oh, flowers.
It's just zen.
Something that's not politics.
Yes, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. South of Idaho Falls, Yellowstone Highway, across from the Budweiser plant And tell him Neal and Julie sent you when you walk in. Julie told me something, and it's going to take
He's stuck now.
It's going to take a day or two for me to forgive Julie. But apparently, the Tiger King. I'll just let that hang there for a moment. As you recall, it was the collective shameful act we all engaged in during the pandemic of watching Tiger King, and one of the features of that show was it was just a story that just sort of never ended. Like there was always this new twist. And I watched every episode, and I'm not happy about it. But I this is a confessional. Julie just told me.
You're better now.
But I was. I'm not anymore. But Julie told me that Tiger King's husband is being deported.
So what happens is Tiger King was married to this guy. He got in trouble. His name is, I can't find it here. Anyways, he got in trouble with his immigration. He did something wrong with his immigration status. So he actually was in jail. I showed up, reviewed his immigration, and they have now deported him to Mexico. And Tiger King posted, the whole story broke because Tiger King posted on Instagram begging Trump to save his husband.
Does Tiger King have access to Instagram in prison?
Okay, yes, the Texas prison system is wonky. They have iPads. Texas prisoners have so many ways to communicate with the outside world.
Well, that feels like a security risk.
I've done a story on this on my podcast. Yeah, they all have iPads.
Okay, everyone have a good Monday as best you can now that you know about Tiger King. We'll be back tomorrow right here on News Talk 107.9.